not do a countdown? Because all right, we're going straight into it, guys. Okay, hi, American Amy here with Miss Lady Justice Liberty Press, and we got a special guest tonight, Miss Meghan Walsh. Hi, everybody say hi. And we want to thank.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so okay, so I'm going to play just one short clip of the day. It's sad, but it's short, and then we're going to start talking and learning a small amount about Meghan, and then about what she's going through right now as a mother that has unfortunately lost custody of all 4 of her children through no fault of her own, in my opinion. Okay, so let's watch this real short video. This was taken inside the home today. A lot of you might not have found that the baby was taken, and it's just so sad because she's okay. If I knock off by any chance, do not leave. I'll be right back. Sometimes when I start pushing the buttons, things get a little dangerous. Okay, so we're going to share the screen. And it's going to be this one. And we're going to share this. Everybody can see this, I hope. Nope. I'm in the wrong place. Give me a second, guys. Hold on. It's me. Okay. One more time. I hit the wrong button. I want to view this on YouTube. There we go.
Spoken the truth. This is
It's
not
coming.
Okay. Please work with us. You can come over right now and we can make.
Well, we can hear it, but we can't see it. Sorry.
People that I know. We can.
We're good. We was good, Amy.
You can see?
We could, but not now.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to try it one more time, guys. This is just a short video. I just think it's important because it shows. Hold on. We'll get it right, guys. And then we're going to go. Okay, share. Okay, share screen. Okay, so y'all can see it, right? And we're going to go back to the
Yes,
thing.
Amy, we can see it.
Okay, and here we go.
This is not okay. Please work with us. You can come over right now and we can make arrangements. This baby needs to stay with me or be with people that I know. We can. But right now, that baby has to go with DCF. Tiffany, do not separate a 5-day-old baby from a mother. I mean, there is a court order. Well, you guys should have never pursued that. You told me you were going to talk to me today. This is so sneaky. This is not okay. All right, Megan. So if you want to meet next week, we can. Or if somebody wants a home study, you can let us know. But I'm getting off here, okay? Thank you.
I mean, that's sad. That's terrible. And as you can see, Meghan was asking them, they could come there right then. She had nothing to hide, but instead they sent the cops. So, okay, Meghan, real quick, let's tell people, I know some people are aware of the fact that your father is the famous John Walsh from America's Most Wanted. So if you could just tell us a small amount about your childhood, what it was like growing up, with your family, and then we'll move on to what you did when you were a little older, what your life's been like, just a little bit.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, ladies, so much. And I want to thank everyone for, joining and following this story and this issue. Again, like I've always said, this is a much larger issue than just this situation. This is a national issue. And we really want people to recognize that, and hopefully we can, further explain and expose how that actually is a reality, unfortunately for us. Yes, my father is John Walsh from America's Most Wanted, and In Pursuit with John Walsh, and other shows in between that. Sorry, it's so hard to watch that, that whole day, and I know it was for many, but sadly, this has been again going on across our country. At every minute that we're even talking, this is happening across our country, and people do need to see that, and we do have to face, what the reality of this is. So, of course, growing up for me, we'll get into that. Growing up was, an interesting thing. I don't think people really realize what the reality of that was growing up in the position that I was, given the work that my father did and the affiliations that he had and the involvement. I did grow up, what I thought was very blessed, and of course to the outside public is very privileged, and, a celebrity's child and things like that. I absolutely understand that. And I understand, how people have looked at my father and viewed my father. I adored my father for my entire life, of course, until these horrific things, which again, I still love them. I forgive my parents. I honor my parents. And I know that people are having a hard time with that. Oh, well, they're doing all of this. There must be more to it if she says she still loves her parents and things like that. But, I did grow up adoring my parents and knowing and being told the narrative, or, what everyone else was told across this country, I should say. I grew up with aliases and bodyguards. My own father, and I believe it was 2019, his speech in front of the Department of Justice even revealed how there was a hit on my life put out by NAMBLA, which is the North American Man Boy Lovers Association, before I was even a year old. So, I don't really talk a lot about it, but, to paint a picture of growing up, getting bomb threats, death threats, having aliases, having bodyguards follow you to the bathroom, and, looking at your parents to see, do I tell this person the truth, or do I tell them we live in Washington, D.C.? Things like that was really how I was brought up. We would have to stand in the hallways, exit aisles, and while the bodyguards went into the hotel rooms or anywhere that we were staying, and search, to make sure that it was safe. And, it was a very wild, upbringing, but when you're in it, you think that this is normal, or this is the sacrifice that your family makes for the work that we're doing.
Right. So, and you believe it's definitely for a good cause, and that's the life, and I do believe some good things probably did come from your father's work. And I know you love your parents. Most children do love their parents, even if they have been abused, whether it be emotionally, physically, or in this way. I don't know what you call this, when they take everything from you. But can you tell us a little bit about, as you got into adult, I know you always have been working for children and families, but, can you tell us a little bit about what you've done as a professional?
Yeah, thank you, Amy. I mean, I know it's a lot about John Walsh and, CPS and all of these things, but I really appreciate that people have started to ask, what about Meghan? What's Meghan about? What was her past? That's really what got me into this, was starting to question what was my parents' past, and what were my parents about when these types of things happen to people, and for me, growing up, I, of course, communications and being in media and all of that was heavily pushed. I have always been an artist at heart, and really always, about my family and things like that. So for me, I went into art and into graphic design, fashion. People can, many people know of my past work within fashion. I had a clothing line that I developed myself, and moved to India to set up distribution and production for. It was called Blank Silk by Meghan Walsh. It was all beautiful couture women's wear made out of silk. And then from there, I went into music. where I wrote and sang and produced my own EP. And that's what people have seen me performing at LA Fashion Week with my clothing. I did that in Miami. New York Fashion Week is where I launched. I had a big career. I was doing deals with Neiman Marcus and arranging that Isetan in Japan and things of that nature. And then at a certain point after I had my son, who many know is with the best friend of, and childhood and current best friend of Kanye West, after being, growing up and being born into the industry on Capitol Hill, going into Hollywood, being between fashion, music, art, entertainment, politics, I really decided and realized that, my main thing is being a mother. I really want to be a mother. I want to help the community. I had been shopped around by my parents since I was about 8 years old to therapists for a diagnosis. And, through that, I do feel blessed by God that I was able to turn those situations into healing for myself and to really be able to find therapists that, weren't just hired by my parents later in life, and to be able to go into that field and be trained and, meet other people like me that really had a heart for others, for trauma, for, the hardships of life that really become our greatest life directors is always what I've, tried to tell any clients or anyone that I worked with, any families. So leaving the industry and all of that, I went into, life coaching, specializing in trauma and different things like that. And started developing a family learning farm in my inheritance. And I'm not going to be shamed for being born to who I was born to. There are many ups and downs and, the grass is always greener for anybody. That's a big thing that we hopefully ladies will get to talk about in the future once all this logistical ugly stuff is over, because there is great hope and great learning and great things ahead for all of us. And I don't mean to talk around issues or direct questions, but this picture is large. We ladies, we know that, and this picture is large, and just going into that and really being a part of the community and being a part of sacred birthing and parenting and, getting back to the church and Christ and all that was just such a wonderful place to be. And throughout that, as I mentioned, being able to find my own therapist and being able to find support that wasn't just a paid check, it wasn't just for a diagnosis by my parents hiring. They actually started pointing out, and through my own study and training, started realizing what you ladies just said. I don't know what we would call that, but unfortunately, it's a term and a issue that has really been played out in the public, so that we become very desensitized to it, and that's narcissistic abuse.
And not just what's going on now, which, like you said, I think this has been going on your whole life. But even if your parents had the best of intentions, just being in the situation y'all were in, not only were you kind of like almost celebrities, but you were also in a dangerous situation too. So that in itself, even if your parents had the best of intentions, had to have its own traumas. But hey, everybody's life's different. We all have our ups and downs. We're all born with our own cross to bear, right? But that you could handle, right? You grew up, you been working, you went to school, you made your own fashion line. I didn't know you sung. Okay, I didn't know that. Did you? Well, you just didn't know. And now, so there come a time, I guess, you got interested and you wanted to know more, because Adam's case has always been controversial, correct? I mean, you knew that growing up even, right? I mean, I know you probably shielded from a lot of it, but you probably, it's like, I don't know. And then you get to a certain point, I guess, having children of your own too. I know once you have children of your own, that changes a lot of people. You know how it is. Once you're mommy or daddy, then it's different. It's different because Okay, so, and then you started like trying to look into his death more, or his disappearance, let's call it at this point, because there's questions surrounding that, and I will not ask you to get into that, but I will ask you to tell people how your troubles first began with you losing like the first custody of your first 3 babies.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. Again, as you've said, which, on these interviews, we try to get to the main points. There's, again, so much to the story. And, I hate even having to lay it on everybody and have people have to grasp it. But, again, this was a thing that had been ongoing. And, again, after realizing kind of the narcissistic abuse and what that was and how that was manifesting or, moving through my family and my situation with my parents, it really led me to start speaking up. And I did see how it was affecting my children and I, and really alienating us, with the cake and cookies and mansions and all of that, when I really wanted a normal life for my children. I did not want my children to grow up as I did. And when, people are part of abuse or different situations growing up, they usually either become like that or they become the opposite and vow, that they will not do that. And, for me, that was a very important part of having children and being a mother. So this was really an issue between my parents that had led up to this. Ladies and everyone listening, I never expected for a million years that it would get to this point, that this would be how they would retaliate or try to break or silence me. I did start looking into my brother's case and his files, because he's my brother. I've wondered and I've loved and adored my brother Adam since I was born. And now looking back at everything and the lifestyle that my parents were living, I mean, that is really the root of this. My father has a reputation to uphold. He has a very powerful reputation, and I understand that. But also, people don't understand the difference or think about the difference between a public persona and a private life.
Yeah, can I interrupt you real quick? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your dad, was it like it's different when the camera's on than when you're at home? Is it like, was there like John Walsh, the person, and John Walsh, the star or whatever? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he's one people. Person. So, the personality or the tone and things like that. But yes, it very much changes. Not as much as my mom's does. My mom is really,
right.
There's a lot of focus on my dad in this situation because of who he is, because people know him. But, my mother is, really in the background behind all of this, sadly. And she has been my main abuser, covert narcissistic abuse for the majority of my life, and has always threatened her money, over me. And then I would, bring it up to my father, and he would completely gaslight me and say, oh, that's crazy. That would never happen. She just must have been upset. We tell you every day what an amazing mother you are. I even have messages of him telling me, oh, she's agreed to get help. I'm really hoping that
about your mom, right?
This is helping her and things will get better.
About your mother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. About my mother.
Mm-hmm. Because you do believe she has.
Yeah, and that's really what I was asking.
That need to be treated.
Sorry.
You think she may have some
yes.
mental issues that need to be treated?
I was trying to humbly say, yeah.
Let's all get help as a family.
Say, there's understandable trauma, you all, you're older. Let's take time and you all get help finally, instead of pushing it off on everybody else. Instead of, from the beginning, instead of shopping your daughter to therapists, you should have been going to therapy for your understandable trauma. If you lost your child and he was kidnapped and murdered, that's valid. And that would have long-standing effects, and affect any children that you had after that or any family. So I was really trying to speak to my parents. I got my dad to go to church one time and meet us, and, was saying there's grief counselors, there's support, you have support. This isn't a bad thing whatsoever, but my children and I cannot participate with you all until you do get help. You're abusing me in front of my children. You're starting to get short with them and, hit them and do little things. And it was not okay. And at that point, once I realized and started speaking up about the abuse, I did stop contact. I kept talking with them because I love them and I wanted to make it better. But I had worked really hard to be at a place, I have been the mother and father for my children their entire lives. And no matter where I got it from or what I had to deal with, my children were beautifully provided for. They knew nothing about abuse. They knew nothing about neglect or, not having, going without. Nothing. But it was a modest life. I was home. I cooked my children's meals. Yes, I had a nanny.
So you were living the life you wanted. That's the life you wanted. That's the mom you wanted to be. So when did it start crashing? When were the kids,
when I started going no contact and saying you all need to get help and you need to take responsibility, that's when things started going downhill. And at the same time, I was researching my brother's case and I was looking into it, and we were in a global pandemic, where people were looking into things and questioning things, and again, like you wonderfully said, thank you for pointing it out. My brother's case has been controversial for 40 years. 40 years. I'm not the one starting to question anything.
Yeah, you're not the first person. And then when people see like that globe thing, they'll be like, oh, that's the globe. People, back in the day, I don't know much about the globe. Yeah, it was seen as a tabloid, but look at the mainstream news. We all know what the mainstream news is today. Mm-hmm. It's nothing but talking heads fed a script and a narrative. So who knows? Yeah, a lot of this shit in those magazines probably was nothing but crap, but a lot of it was probably stuff like now that mainstream media won't touch, and that's what's happening with her case. The only people that would touch it is independent journalists like us and plenty of others. They're not the only ones. There's others, and there's plenty of people sharing. And of course, we want to thank you all. So many of you have been sharing, and so many people on all over the internet's been sharing. I've been screaming about this for months. She's been screaming about it, and we're finally getting attention on it. Okay, go ahead, Megan.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah.
This is your time.
No, and just speak to that. I think that. Well, that's a big thing about media, a big point that you make. We're all facing this, this issue right now and questioning. And, for those that want to, I know there's a lot of people that would rather stay in the dark, but, that was another thing that started questioning things and even got me to look into my brother's case, because my best friend was groomed and trafficked out of the Finger Lakes in New York. And I watched my father sadly make up, and you guys, I would have never come forward with any of this stuff. Again, I was trying to talk with my parents and handle it as a family issue and everything. And then you take my children and my life and have harassed and terrorized us for over a year. That doesn't exactly indicate innocence, when I'm asking questions. So, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay. I do that all the time. It's anytime you try to bring something to the light, and you're right, during the pandemic, a lot of people did start researching, and I did see a lot of things come to light during that time. And we seen the Free Britney movement. And then when I met you, well, even before I met you, when I heard about your case, I'm like, this is like the same thing. But have we got that kind of attention on it yet? Not yet. But we're working on it. And I did reach out. I just now thought to reach out to some of the people on Twitter that were instrumental in the Free Britney movement. And I've got some of them interested now. So,
awesome. Yeah.
Good, yeah.
I mean, this goes hand in hand, actually. Hers is a family court situation. And, mine with the conservatorship, I mean, people don't realize that is my parents' ultimate goal. I'm sorry, before I did remember what we were saying, I was saying about my friend that was trafficked.
Yeah, let's take her name real quick, because people
her name is Lindsay Harris. Her name was Lindsay Harris, and I would like justice for her. I watched my father and his television producers and everything create a narrative about her that, again, was a very defamatory narrative to really fit ratings and to fit a dramatization of something, for viewing. And that was something that even when I was in college, when this happened, I remember in front of her own parents, grieving parents, had a whole argument with my father and said, you are making up these narratives. When Epstein came out, they did her case again and profiled it. I mean, this was years later, but it fit, for ratings
You've
and what
got an
people cared
echo.
about.
Excuse me, we've got a little echo going on, and I'm not sure from where.
Maybe
I'm sorry.
me? No, it's okay. Let's see.
Do you
Is
have,
it when I talk?
you don't have YouTube on, do you?
No.
No, I don't hear echo. Okay, does chat hear echo? Let us know, guys.
Well, we're skipping around a little bit. I did
Okay,
want to.
yeah.
It's okay.
I think we're okay.
Before we get on to other stuff, I wanted to address the Globe and the media and stuff like that.
Definitely. Go ahead.
With this is that, yes, it is a Globe cover. The Inquirer actually asked me for an exclusive. Project Veritas has asked me for an exclusive. I have turned all exclusives down. I am not looking for someone to put out the narrative about this story, and I'm not looking to be censored about it whatsoever. And I have, again, grown up in media. I know how this works. I might not know everything, but I know how this works. And, the Globe cover and everything, I thought that was really interesting because for people to doubt that, especially when I even posted it, I grew up with him. Like that was another thing.
I think that's why you posted it, because it was familiar to it. It made sense to you.
I grew up answering, girlfriends on the phone, like catching my dad on the phone with girlfriends. My dad went and is on Larry King himself saying how he was a sex addict and apologizing. I mean, I was at my own home the day that he kept us all from school when that Globe cover was released. And my mother's friends all went around town and tried to buy and make sure they bought every single one that they could find so that people in the town wouldn't find out about it. So, it's just very interesting. I'll say in grace that people think that because they see someone on TV for even 20 years or they shake their hand or something like that, that they know them and they'll actually like viciously defend them and shame victims and, things like that. I think that that's a big notion that we should all start looking at and asking ourselves maybe through this and through many other things going on, in our world and in our country. So anyways, my background and all of that, again, we're skipping around, but to not get off of where we were going, I've worked my entire life and, I was always in things that were building a career, not just getting a job. And my parents were well off, and they, said, while you're in school, we will support you. While you're working towards a career, we will support you and the children. That's what family does. And that's what I trusted, until realizing that, we all have different perspectives on what help is to others, what our intentions are behind that. And, sadly, when in people's views, I don't want to put it on everyone else, but what I've found and what many have found about my parents and many in their position like them is that, if you are paying or you are helping or you're whatever we're calling it, then you feel that you own that person, you own those children,
Oh,
and
yeah, that's not right.
My parents don't own us,
No, you don't even own them. They're your children, but nobody owns another human being. But they are your responsibility and they should be with you. Yes. And that's our goal, not only to get her children back, but it goes deep. But right now we're focusing on Meghan's story, but eventually our goal is to get her kids and then start getting everybody's kids we can get, because we're tired of them taking people's kids.
It's not just an advocate. I mean, a lot of people don't know that also, that I was an advocate fighting the corruption within CPS, family courts, and I mean, even law enforcement, wherever that extends. And it's not a fight. We should all be on the same side about this. If something is not being done the way that it should be and is clearly decided that should be that way, especially through law, then there should be complete transparency. There should be no fight because we should all be on the side of what is best. We're all on the same side. these people, you go and take off your uniform, you go take off your judge's cloak. You know, I chose a different profession than you did. You know, that doesn't make you have more value or more power over anybody else.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Definitely, yes. And okay, so
Speaking of muted, how about the body cam
the
footage?
body cams, yes, and that's something
Police
that
body cam footage should not be allowed to be muted. We should all have a huge issue with this, and that should show extreme guilt. Again, on what I was just saying, if we're doing what we're supposed to do
we
and
should be
we're such good
transparent.
public servants, yeah, why are we muting?
Why do we gotta hide?
I'm not talking about phone numbers and addresses. I'm talking about conversations.
Oh, those they
This
often
muting needs to
send.
stop.
Yeah, they often send the cams out with the people's personal info. It's us that edits that out usually. Sometimes they'll edit it out, but not always. Okay, but they'll mute. And that's something that we've got to all get together on too. And it's got to be stopped. It's got to be. Some departments it is against policy, but it needs to be a law because they're really, you know, that's one reason it's so important that citizens take their own photography. That's why we do the activism that we generally do, and that is film the police, because it's transparency. If you don't have nothing to hide, you have no problem being on a camera, and
That's
ours
right.
don't get muted and deleted.
Amen.
Yeah. So now I know, like, the day we went to court, you know, they were starting to terminate your rights on your older 3 children that day. Luckily, they gave you an extension that day. That's why you were so happy. I know that's a small victory, but hey, once they do that, that can be a big problem. I don't want to get too much into her case, but that's once that happens, I guess her parents are going to go to adopt those 3 babies, and your small newborn, I don't know if they're going to try to adopt her or not. I have no idea. She's just with DCF right now.
That's the thing too. I mean, this is, at this point, everyone should see through this situation. This is very textbook. It's happening all over our country, not just within CPS, but within domestic violence situations and domestic issues. You know, really targeting women, using their children and weaponizing their children, weaponizing beliefs or medical freedoms, religious, you know, ideologies, whatever you want, that's really being weaponized. And this is something that is happening across our country. Florida is one of the top states for guardianship and conservatorship fraud as well. And you mentioned Britney Spears earlier, and, you know, a big thing, I was really encouraged that people knew about that and started actually paying attention to her story, because sadly it's not just about family court and all of this mental illness. All these accusations are used in these abusive situations, familial abuse situations. And really, in my situation, you can replace everyone in Britney's situation, all of those names and the positions and the players that they're in. You can literally replace the names with people in my situation. And adopting my children for guardianship fraud. Also, Florida has no grandparent rights, so this also is a big incentive.
That is a fact. That is a fact.
Yes.
They do not recognize grandparents no more than they do somebody off the side of the road.
Right.
So I don't know why hers are getting so much, and why. And another thing we've seen wrong with those body cams too is DCF. Police or sheriffs are supposed to back DCF up. Mike, the cop, came in there with intention. He was fixing to ram the door down. First of all, I'm not even sure if they had a warrant to get inside the house. I know they had one to take your child, but that don't mean they had the right to go inside the house, especially if you guys were willing to come out, but we can get into the legalities later. It was just horrible. You know, that's just not how business is supposed to be done. It's not legal. And
it's dangerous. That after seeing that, what was going on outside of that house with Dilks, I mean, he's already nationally known for being a racist on TikTok. I mean, that's the level we're working with here. He is the sheriff's best friend who, again, people are, why are they taking your kids? What's going on? My dad endorsed the sheriff and got him in. I mean, this is my dad's been
the judge. And the judge, I'm sorry, is an ex-sheriff, right? He's one of them.
The judge was with the sheriff's department and trained and worked for 16 years. So, and then left and went into, he became a criminal defense attorney and all of this, which he wasn't even the original judge. They suddenly put him, they have changed out all the players throughout this past year. All of that, but the original judge, I want to address this for people who are saying, oh, there has to be a reason why they took her children and everything. Well, I would actually like to point out that through my trial, on court documents and records, which again, I cannot be disclosing a lot of it. I do skirt around it because I want my children to be kept safe. And this is an active, confidential case that's going on. I mean, people are like, oh, well, she's not disclosing, she's skirting around things. No, I'm not going to disclose and jeopardize my case or my children or myself. So, you know, we all know what the accusations are. There's plenty of things, mental illness, drug abuse, criminal, you know, all of this stuff piled on one. And again, this is a playbook that that people are using. You could get mad at your neighbor right now and call DCF and it would ruin their lives. And people know that.
And there's also conservatorships. There are professional conservators here in Florida and in California, and they will just show up. They'll done be got the paperwork and show up at older folks' home, and they done got everything. It's done been given.
Our veterans, our elderly, and our children are being absolutely taken advantage of. They are being abused, neglected. It's horrible. And my parents, through this, also a lot of wealthier parents will do this to their children and with their grandchildren, because also it will supplement the adoption fees and the adoption incentives will supplement their retirement. Yeah. And you know, and it's for cash. And I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, lots of corruption. And then anytime when family court's involved, I say it all the time. If you watch Susan Bassey out in California, she says, oh, it's a sham. Family court's a sham. Even child support. If you have a child, you should look into that. That's a contract you don't have to sign. I'm not saying don't support your children. Support them your way, not through the government. But once they've got you in that contract, you know, you're in it. So that's something I advise parents to research, man, before you get into that child support contract. I'm not saying don't take care of your kids, but you don't have to do it through the state. You can do it yourself.
Yes. There are better ways. I've always said that this is my motto. There are better ways. No one is saying that these aren't issues. No one is living in la la land or going to an extreme. These are real things. We need the masses to understand from this perspective as far as how these things are happening. Children being taken, how it does become generational and then enables the prison system. You know, how family court is being used with child support and ruining families. You know, I mean, there's just so many issues that this needs truly to be restarted from the bottom up. I'm not about the reform thing. I'm not about taking something. This is systemic at this point, and we have a lot of great people who want to do better, who want to truly help children, who want to truly create something. And what my point is there is that this is up to the parents and the community. This is up to us as the people, not the government. I do not parent with the government. I know many people agree with me on that, and we just really need to be nurturing these children. And really, you know, that's another thing, is there's this huge focus on the children. No, this is about families. And usually these situations of neglect or abuse are adult issues, honestly, financially, domestic, substance abuse, things like that, where we really need to be focusing and putting our federal taxpayer dollars and all of that into resources and support for the parents, not innocent children.
Yeah. Right. And I would like, and there's so many cases that I know with a little bit of, first of all, I know there's cases when there is abuse, they do nothing. There's cases where there might be some struggles, but the family might just need a little bit of help with some education, some supplies, stepping stones to get by. But you know, it's all a mess. Like you said, it needs to be completely redone. And now in the UK, they will take I have seen them take people's children, even if you like have a minor learning disability. Before your
Yes.
child's even born, they're ready to take it.
Yes. If you aren't perfect, if the child isn't perfect, if you're not agreeing with the mainstream way of raising a child, I mean, in my case, and thank you for saying this, because I want to say this, in my trial, we even took the stance, okay, even if all of this was true, this crazy stuff, even if all of this was true, it was still by law nothing that qualified to remove children. So for everyone wondering out there,
no, there was no
there
abuse
had to be a
allegations
reason,
at all, right?
On record, by law, proved. And the judge, the original judge, this is what a kangaroo court this is, okay? And how this is happening. We proved by law that. But the judge actually mocked us at the verdict and said, we find John Walsh and his side, DCF, absolutely credible on nothing but hearsay. And Meghan Walsh, I find not credible, and actually mocked that he did not believe that this was a conspiracy against me. So that's how my children were removed, even after finding out, or I mean, not finding out, after proving through a trial and on court records that exist and are, again, we don't have them. They're not public knowledge in a DCF, and I haven't gone into details, and I will not. But when everyone knows
the time
that
will come,
my
the truth will
children
come
were
out on
placed
that
with
part.
my parents. What?
Right, and there was no there was no abuse, there was this was nothing but hearsay based on issues that they claim she has.
Right. And that's the point that I wanted to make on the wider picture for people, is that this is getting very dangerous for anyone, especially if you want to raise your children traditionally, or if you have alternative views about things, which many people do these days. It's promoted in society, and now and then it's used against us. So we have to be very, especially the mental health agenda, this huge push about mental health and everything. We really need to be weary of that. It's not to say that we don't need to all be concerned about mental health and be proactive about that. But again, it's the way it's being presented, the way it can potentially be used against us later. There are huge, I know Cleveland Clinic and many large conglomerates have plans for mental health campuses and things like that. That was another thing that I was researching in my town and speaking out about, that most of my town does not even know about. And they were trying to use the youth to get the funding for a youth mental health facility in our small town.
More drugging of our children.
Yes, and that's the thing, is the main point here is that in the case they didn't prove that anything that they even claimed was by law that gave them the ability to remove my children. So then they moved to, well, we're preventing potential future adverse events. Okay, people, I'm bringing this up because
is this
now
pre-crime? Is this the Matrix pre-crime? I mean, not the Matrix. What was that movie where, they get you before you commit the crime?
Yes. And this is John Walsh. This is John Walsh. If everyone looks at this up, he years ago has already started that there should be a mental health registry for any gun owners. He's been going after guns. Meanwhile, he's on his property with his rancher friends. They've got 12, stations set up, and they're shooting, everything out there. And he brags about that. But the whole thing is, these are agendas. These are, and not to be conspiratorial. It's not conspiratorial. I think people need to look up the definition of conspiracy these days or something. When more than one people are getting together and they have a plan to do something, or they have a goal, that is called conspiring. That's a conspiracy.
That's
these are
a
not
conspiracy.
like theories anymore. That's a different thing.
Right. The people that see the conspiracy happening and try to expose it, those people are the people that see truth, and those are truth seekers, and we get called conspiracy theorists. But no, there are conspiracies out there, not just the one that's happening here, not just the one against our children, all over the government, all over the world. There's a global conspiracy. Come on, people. Yeah, we all know it. And if you don't know it, ask for the spirit of the discernment, because it's out there.
Amen.
Okay. Yes.
Amen, Amy.
Okay, I'm gonna step away for 1 minute. I gotta go check on something, and but keep going. Lady Justice will be right here with you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Keep
you know,
going.
I don't know. We really do need to worry about this. And what I was saying, as far as, you know, the predicting the future and predicting doom. And, you know, this was a big thing that I actually grew up with, obviously. You know, when I think there's studies that show, you know, the effects that actually the news and having hours of the news on, you know, actually the effects that it has on you. And my father has grown up, you know, I mean, I've grown up with my father for 40 years being in all this, you know, that kind of space with news and crime, and, you know, we've got to get the bad guys and all of this. And, you know, I also really realized not only the push for federalized policing through his narratives and his stories and his work, but also, you know, the whole, you know, we've brought in facial recognition. He's brought in through that. I know many people have argued the unconstitutional aspects of the Adam Walsh Act and a lot of the legislation that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children put through, as well as their private databases.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm glad you mentioned that. I haven't even thought about that. Now, this is what I've said all over the internet. If her dad is involved in any corruption, and I believe this is corruption right here. What I've seen is the mutant of the body cams, the way the officer acts, that's corruption. It's got it all over it.
No matter what the past is with my brother or my dad or anything, what he has done here and what law enforcement is corruption.
People do good things and they can change, just like people change for the good. People can change for the bad, especially when you bring in money, power, you know, things like that. And then people with money sometimes get bored too, and they want to get into weird things. But let's get to the center. If he is, let's say, corrupt or in any kind of way, the whole center may be corrupt.
Amy, we've only asked questions. I've only asked questions. I was not there for my brother's taking. I was not involved in the center, which is interesting because I was involved in the center. And then when it came down to me becoming more internally involved, I was very much, you know, no. And my brother was given the job and different things like that. And, you know, again, we've only asked questions, but about the center, you know, they say they're a nonprofit, but, you know, it's a 501c3, which makes them exempt from Freedom of Information Act, essentially. Their 2019 audit showed $40 million of taxpayer money going to them, and 18 to 20 million from the private sector. With Facebook and Airbnb and different, you know, questionable companies or platforms that have had issues with trafficking or anything like that as their top donors. And then I was getting, this isn't a big thing, I was getting real moms. My friends in society, in our community, were having issues during the pandemic with, you know, predators and their daughters online and different things. And they would call, you know, they'd ask me, I would say, call the hotline. You know, that's what my dad says to do, call the hotline. They would call back weeks later after making the report, and any of the platforms like Facebook, any that were private donors that were reported on, they would call back weeks later, and the National Center would say, oh, we don't have that report. We don't know what you're talking about. And they would just go missing. We found on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's database that they have 3-week-olds listed as runaways.
Oh, that's crazy.
We've had women come forward, multiple women come forward about how they and their children were listed on the missing exploited database, and they were never missing or exploited. We have a mother who I'm actually good friends with dealing with CPS, in the fight for CPS, Kara, whose son was murdered by the father, and she's still ordered to have her daughter have to get 50-50 custody with this man, when she's even reporting, the daughter herself, the little girl, is reporting the sexual abuse, choking, all of this. And guess what? The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had hundreds of child porn images off of his computer, gave him back the computer, and did nothing about it. And then his son died. His baby was still alive at that point, still was able to see them. And then the child died at the hospital from from injury to actually anal prolapse and injury to that nature, internal injury.
This is terrible. And also,
Yeah.
there's a lot of abuse that I don't think people, some people are starting to come out and tell about it now. There's been a lot of ritual abuse going on for years. A lot of the families, these richer families, and I'm not saying your family, but some of them, they're into it. Some of these Hollywood type figures, they're into this stuff, and it goes on. They'll breed their own children for it. They do not care. These people, and I'm not saying her family, I'm saying there are some people that are so evil in this world that they're doing this kind of stuff. They have been for years, and now a lot of it's come to light. You know?
And people don't realize how you grow up or what the underlying energies or dynamics of this way of life is, and these arenas of people that you're with, and how they view life and how they view other people, and you know what their activities are. There's always an underlying air of sex or some kind of, and it's glamorized, different things like that. And I was right up in it. I was there. I mean, I was a sucker for a long time, and the fact that we're putting it out, and that's what I was exposing to, was the occult or different, horrible influences within pop culture, and how it targets our children, and how it tricks us, oh, that's no big deal. Oh, the Kardashians, they're silly. Well, guess what? You might think they're silly, but you're not their target. Your children are.
Right. And in Florida, we have Home of Disney, which is a company I'm not very fond of. That's all I'm going to say. But anything else you want? So do you want to tell? Okay, so with your newest baby, she's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
They all are.
Thank you.
Thank you. We didn't have no idea this was happening. They knew you were pregnant. They could have let you know, hey, there's going to be a case. Can you tell people, that was not discussed, or if it was ever discussed, and how they went to court without you that morning?
Yeah, I had found out that DCF had been asking the other workers and supervisors, is Meghan pregnant? Does she look pregnant? And this had started when I was only like weeks pregnant. I mean, I barely even knew I was pregnant, to get the point across, and they were asking, is she pregnant? Is she pregnant? The people were like, I don't know. Like, she doesn't look pregnant. I'm not going to ask if a woman's pregnant. That's a big no-no, whatever. And, so they had been asking for months, is my point. Very interesting, how would they know that? How would they question, or even to think to question that? And then they received, a couple months before I had her, they received a false report from my father's attorney and my father saying that I was pregnant and that I had the baby. So they sent DCF through the neighborhood. You all, this is the Gestapo. Like, they sent DCF into the neighborhood to start knocking on the door. We have video. We've sent it to Governor DeSantis, everything, of them knocking on the doors in the neighborhood, aggressively asking if anyone had seen a pregnant woman. Okay, so hunting me down. They knew the house I was in. They knew where I was. I'm not the fact that these people, it's so scary how depraved and how twisted they can make a narrative, an actual situation, into a narrative. Like, they even said, like, I had a home birth because I was hiding the baby. You all, I've had home births for every child I've had except for the first one. I've done every single one naturally. So there you go for the drug addict narrative, which, by the way, I've tested twice a week, every week for a year. I have done evaluations. I have passed everything. So I'm smiling because to see the depravity of where people want to go in comments, or when they see a situation like this, instead of reflecting and going, oh my gosh, this is obviously a huge issue that I was not aware of. Let me look into this. Let me see. No, we'd rather sit and click and say, oh, what meth? What's on her nose? What's on her face? What, does she have this? Everyone needs to realize I grew up in media. Like I
Right.
grew up with people
You know how it works.
saying
And it's
ignorant
worse
things
now. It's
and
worse now than it used to be. Because now
yeah,
everybody has to fit the narrative. And if you don't, you're out of a job. And some people, there's people, and the same thing goes with the police, government, these all these organizations. If you try to be a whistleblower, do the right thing, you get out of a job. But you have to decide at some point, am I going to do the right thing, or what order won't I follow? Like
right.
them taking your baby that day. I couldn't have done that. Okay.
No,
There's certain
no.
things I just can't do. I couldn't sleep at night. And that one guy, I mean, he was gun ho. Mike was. He couldn't wait to do it. But
Well, that
even
was the whole thing, is that he started this over a year ago on April Fool's Day. He's been the goon to be sent out by his best friend Eric Flowers, who is then sent, and doing this for John Walsh. I mean, this is so lame, to be honest. Like, the fact that this is actually being taken seriously and that they're getting away with this is so scary and so lame.
it's very
He
scary.
already has disciplinary. What?
It's very scary, especially when I'm trying to terminate on the first 3
Yeah.
within a month. And Eric Flowers is the sheriff, correct? Or the
Yes,
ex-sheriff?
he's the sheriff,
He's the
and
sheriff
Dilks
now.
is one of his best buddies, and
Dilks
Dilks
is
is already
Mike.
a disciplinary. What?
I'm letting everybody know. He's the one, Mike, the one that wanted to ram the
Yeah,
door.
Mike Dilks. You can look him up for his TikTok, his racist TikTok videos, and his disciplinary stuff there. He started this. They even put him in my church the month that they took my children. There was a guy an officer that did the child care forever, all the time. And the month that they did this and took my children, all of a sudden Mike Dilks was sitting in the back of the church as security. I mean,
Wow.
that's how terrorizing. They had flown helicopters from 11 something at night until 1 a.m. the sheriff's department for the last 6 months over my home.
And the night before they took
The
Esther,
night
they
before,
were out there.
they had them out there sitting all night, shining headlights. I mean, this is the John Walsh fear-mongering of America, by the way. My father, with the inflection and the drama of it and everything. I mean, it's like Bureau, where I am, is like a cult following for Flowers and my father. And Mike Dilks has been very aggressive, on the videos we even saw, and even on Acura Amanda, who I want to, say thank you so much to her for doing that amazing video and supporting all of us here.
She edited it together, a lot of the clips, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that, because
Yeah.
I uploaded them all up there raw and unedited, and she was able to put them together and to cut a lot of that dead spot out, and it gives a quick story, and it reached a lot more people. So I appreciate Amanda for putting that together. And also everybody that shared or put, that's helped in any kind of way. Something else I wanted to say on the sheriffs, but I forgot. I lose my train of thought real bad too.
We got a lot on our minds, ladies.
Yeah.
We got a lot we're doing here.
Definitely. And like you said, I would like you to go back to the day when he pulled you over when he was unmarked, if you don't mind going into that a little bit. When he was in his gym clothes.
I got an echo. Sorry. What were you saying, Amy?
Are we better?
You're mute.
We're better now?
Oh.
Is that better?
I've got an echo on everybody now.
Really?
Hang on.
Okay. I don't know why. You still got an echo?
Okay. It's echoing for me.
Okay. What about now? Is that better?
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Hold on, I'll cut it down some. Okay. Well, even if I'm mute.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. When I mute, when I mute, does the echo stop for you?
I just did the mute, but then it still echoes.
Huh. I don't know why.
Technology.
Yeah, always. It always gets me. I wanted you to talk about the day that this Dilks pulled you over.
The day that what? Sorry.
That Dilks pulled you over?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, again, he had been in the church and all of that. He pulled us over on April Fool's Day with unmarked police cars and street clothes and said that it was a traffic stop out by our farm, which is obviously not in town where people can see, you know, it's out of the way. And my children were there again. They had me get out of the car. They do all of this. We filmed that on live too. And it was all to serve me a summons for family court, which again was a huge concern for people knowing my dad's affiliation and stuff like that. With, you know, how much was that price tag to have a private serving? Now I'm being, you know, a wise guy, but still,
that's the people's money.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane at this point. They brought out to get back to the removal of Esther again. They had known. They sent people in the neighborhood. The judge yelled at me in front of 30 plus national court watchers and advocates. This judge yelled on a Zoom at me when I invoked my HIPAA rights on a public hearing when I was asked whether I was pregnant or not. And I told them that I had no problem letting them know whether I was pregnant or not, but in a public forum on a Zoom hearing that I was not going to disclose that information for the safety of myself and my children. And he started yelling, saying, "Oh, you will tell me whether you're pregnant or not," and threatened, you know, to hold me in contempt or to jail me if I did not tell him if I was pregnant or not over my baby. And then he made every court hearing from then on, not on Zoom, but had to be in person. So basically they could watch my belly and know when I was having a baby. And then to go from there, you know that you've known for months that I was pregnant. Now, why didn't we talk about this? Why didn't you come to me and say, look, this is by law, this is procedure, this is what's going to happen when you have this baby, this is what we expect you to do, this is what you need to do. And I'm just throwing out horrible examples, but the point here is that none of that was necessary. None of that was necessary. That's trauma. That's resources. That's, charging, felonies on the two people supporting me.
Yes. They did charge the two people that were there.
This is clear corruption. This is clear for money. This is, I'm sick of being the bad guy to have to say that. I'm sick of having to point out the obvious and be the bad guy, to point this out. I've supported law enforcement my entire life. I support anyone that's truly working to protect children, and to do what's right as a public servant. I support all of that. But when it's not, I will never be okay with corruption. I will never be okay with women and children being terrorized like this we saw, we're talking about Dilks, to see that scene outside of the home and to see that that's how law enforcement and and DCF choose to, to handle things. Everyone should be highly disturbed and also
unnecessary. It was so unnecessary too. They could have, like you said, they knew you were pregnant. You already had a case open, unfortunately, with the other 3 children. They should have been told you if they were going to do something like this. And then that morning they had court and you was not told about, but your lawyer was there, but you wasn't informed, correct?
Yeah, and then she recused herself right after that video went out, didn't she? Because she knew she did wrong. She could have called me from that hearing. She could have, people say, oh, listen on the video, she knew there was a hearing. No, I didn't hear from my lawyer. I have been so played with in this whole entire thing that until you hear that there's a hearing or something, you don't take the bait, we all know that. And she could have called me and notified me when that hearing started. She could have said, Your Honor, excuse me, I need to call my client. For some reason, she's not here. Maybe it was a miscommunication. I've sat in that courtroom for a year and mostly representing myself pro se. And I want people to know that that is something that should be supported, and you should not be intimidated when you choose that route, because unfortunately at this point we're all having to choose that, and you're going to have to if you're in these situations and you really want to be able to, you know, fight for your side and to get the truth out, you know.
Oh yeah,
But
because the attorney
she
they
did
give you is not
nothing
going
to
to help.
protect us. She called me the Friday before I had my baby and said, "Oh, I'm calling you to let you know they're probably going to take the baby when you have it." And I'm saying that just because that's what I've seen in other cases. That's all that was said to me.
And it seems like she would, you know, advise you, you know, how to. First of all, oh man, I don't even know. It's just
Well,
ridiculous.
and you
They
know,
have
it's not
plenty of
about like
time.
putting it on everybody else. These are just the logistics, and there are a lot of people involved in this, and a lot of people that are involved in this, they're taking the responsibility of being in charge of it, or taking these children, or collecting the money, or being the lawyer, being the judge. You know, they need to be held responsible. I'm going to call it out. If you want to see it as me putting blame on everybody else or whatnot, no. I know we all know the truth. We all know the evidence. When my children are kidnapped and claims are made against me that are absolutely not true. I mean, yes, you all, I'm a criminal, drug abuser, psychotic. I mean, they just like, let's pick every single thing we could come up with.
Yeah, and like you said, all this is uncensuated.
No
I
prior record, no history of
no
anything.
criminal
Been a mom
record.
for 9 years, you know.
No criminal record, right? Okay, and the baby. I mean, I don't know. Are they trying to make new accusations, or they just taking her on the strength of the other one, or you just don't know?
No. Oh, my dad did have me falsely arrested. We forgot about that one the day
Oh,
before the kid's trial. My dad had me falsely arrested, and the sheriff signed the bond and everything.
oh,
But yes, to go back to the baby, this should also be another thing. I mean, this is crazy that people aren't seeing right through this.
yeah, it
I
don't make
don't
no
think we could
sense.
hand it to them anymore. When my father is taking 3 of my children for adoption and everything, and then knowing, again, they all knew I was pregnant, but they take my children and rush off to the Finger Lakes, New York, saying that it's a family tradition. Again, they've also been told many times that they need help, and that these children are not theirs. They are your daughter's children, John and Reve Walsh. You need help. You cannot dictate how to raise these children based on your own opinions and your own wants and needs. But yes, they knew that I was pregnant. They knew I was having a baby. They then say we have to hurry up and go on our family vacation to the Finger Lakes, and it's a tradition. And you know, the children being able to only be on Zoom now to see their mother for an hour twice a week. I mean, they have dwindled down. That's what they do, you all. They encourage you. They say do the case plan. They say, oh, you're getting there, as they dwindle things down and make up false reports, or they say you're not complying. Everyone wants to say, I've done everything on my case plan except the things that they have added as you go to keep saying that you're not in compliance. People, please wake up. Like,
Right,
there
like
are
the home
hundreds of
study.
thousands of these cases and evidence of this across our country. Stop shaming grieving parents that are in terror, trying to tell you all what is actually going on. And don't talk about child trafficking. Don't talk about trafficking. How can you even, if we're at a point in society where people hear about this and they want to go, oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, there must be a reason. Oh, child trafficking, and politicize it or chalk it off in whatever way, we are at a very scary place.
Definitely,
Very
definitely. When a child can be removed, no evidence on hearsay only, and this,
it's a racket. And
and
if people
any
can't
other
understand
time,
what this racket is at this point,
yeah, I mean, it's obvious. I mean, I don't know what else we can tell people. We do believe your next court date is, you think the 27th of July? Do you know what time?
yeah, I have to confirm. It's either
Okay.
the 27th and 28th, or 28th and 29th. I can't
Okay.
remember right now. I've been running around, and I
It's
literally
okay.
have just kept fighting for all of us. My children, knowing, you all know, and we all feel the same way here, but when you know the realities and when you understand these perspectives and what is actually going on, you cannot sleep at night. It's not to say we're not all getting sleep, but that's for the point there. No one should be able to sleep at night while this is still going on across our country.
No, not when children are being taken, and then so many children are disappearing. We have so many problems either way you look at it, and a lot of it shouldn't even be, because a lot of it is set up. It is a conspiracy, and
Title IV. If you don't know about Title IV, to anyone watching, please look into what Title IV really is. I mean, we'll do another show about breaking down, and that's where I'm going to start moving into. Enough of John Walsh, enough of that. I thank you ladies tonight for giving me the space to kind of talk about what I did before. And, I had a whole life before this, but again, I was always speaking out. When my children weren't even taken, I was fighting for our families and for our children, and I will never stop until they're stopped.
Right.
And I know that many people feel that way, and I know more are starting to, and by us getting, coming on like this and us really using our voices for truth, and justice, we stand firm in grace and truth for justice. There are better ways, and that is something that I will say forevermore. And we're getting bigger. We're really showing that we can, and through grace, this is not a fight. We should all be on the same side for this.
We just want the truth out there. That's all. That's all anybody's asked for, is the truth.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing to hide, nobody should be scared of the truth. This lady here is
and people should not be getting paid over our children with our own money. So if you all can't realize, the people watching and the masses, if you can't realize that you're going to work every day to pay salaries for people, then take your children and make money off of it. And if that doesn't infuriate you, that's only the surface of what's
it would be
what's
so much cheaper. It would be so much cheaper to help families that really are struggling. It would
put the money back in the family.
Yes. And, it would be way less
even the National Center with Missing Exploited Children, put our money towards local task forces.
Not just
put
the
our money
database.
towards local hotlines and groups that will go out and look for children within 48 hours of them going missing, not wait for logistics and bureaucracy and be told to a database that takes credit and control over every one of our children in this country. Your children's own school pictures are being uploaded to databases.
Oh, yes, they are. There's
through National Center for Missing Exploited Children, and it's being used. So, and it's all protected against you. So using your money to do it. So let's keep going here and
making you think that it's something to save your child in case they ever get lost. I was watching a friend of mine's, she knew a child, a friend of a friend that was murdered, and it just freaked me out when I went to catch up on the case. I noticed she was standing there with one of those ID things that the center gave away. Her dad killed her, I believe. I don't think it had nothing to do with that. But still, it just gave me chills seeing her holding that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that leaves. I do have to get going for our Red, White, and Boom tonight, and I'll be sending out links to you all so that we can start getting all together on there. I would love to have you ladies on, of course. But yeah, that's another thing to bring it full circle. My own father and many experts will say how when something happens to a child, it's most likely a family member, somebody related or close to the family. And my father even says so himself. But then, of course, when it's his own situation, that's null and void at that point. So.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for being here. And when we do find out her court date, I'll let you guys know in case anybody's in the area and they want to show up and be supportive. And I want to thank you for coming on. And we'll definitely get together and do this again. And, of course, I'm going to be helping you. I've been helping you. I'm going to help you any way I can. There's a lot of people out there that care and are willing to help. And we appreciate all those people. I appreciate you coming on, Lady Justice. I appreciate your help, as always. All right, so we're out of here, guys. And
Amy, Lady Justice, thank you both. I love you both so much. And,
Oh.
you guys have been doing this, right along with us and before many of us. So I can't thank you enough for everything that you do. And I do want to say that your viewers are amazing people. I know that it's growing and I know it will continue to grow. But I do want to say that this is a time for us to come together and use our voices as the people. There are more good
United
people.
we stand, right?
United we will stand.
Yes, united we stand. We get choked up because we need to understand our power. And it's, again, not this division. We're all suckers for taking this division stuff. We debate. We got to get smarter, everybody. We got to rise above this. Not say that, there's going to be division or there's going to be different perspectives, but you know what? We know that. And so we're all going to come together and we're going to try in peace and grace to really find out the truth and make sure that justice is very much a part of our lives, at this point. So thank you all so much. Thank you, ladies.
all.
God
Okay,
bless
well,
you.
thank
And thank you for everyone that's
All right,
taken
guys.
time,
Thank
taking
everybody
the
for
meeting
being-
support.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan, for
Thank
coming
you.
on our show. Thanks, everybody in chat. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
God bless.
God bless. Pray for the children, please.
Amen.